3, 2, 1, go.
This is Coons 4 Terp Talk with Bruce Posner. 60 minutes of Maryland athletics and your phone calls at 410-481-1300. Now, here's Bruce Posner and Terp Talk.
Well, it hurts. It hurts a lot. No doubt about that. But it's not going to take away from the other things that this group of guys accomplished, this year. And because we accomplished some things that nobody thought we could accomplish this year, and we get an opportunity to play another one. It's just very disappointing because of how this game started to where it ended. That makes it disappointing, and there's a lot of hurt in the locker room and disappointment. But again, we did a lot of good things this year, and these kids want to see the seniors go out on their last home game with a win. And we just came up short, and a lot of that was because of some of the things that we did. And what we got to do is now as a program just look at these things and make sure these don't happen again in the next game we play in a month, and then utilize this season to propel us forward to make us better. And that's what we'll do. That's the kind of kids that we have in the program. But like I said, disappointing, but I love these kids. I love what they've done this year, what they accomplished. And like I said, it's disappointing, but it's not going to take away the other things that we did this year. Because going to Penn State and going to Michigan and beating them on the road and the things there, but tonight's just disappointing. We got to live with it, but we'll get better from it.
Wayne, welcome in tonight, traveling in from the D.C. area to be co-host of the show with me today. If you would have told me when the season started that Maryland would have been 7-5 overall, including 4-4 in the Big Ten, with wins over Penn State and Michigan, I would have been ecstatic. And in fact, if we would have lost the game to Rutgers 24-21 in a normal game, I would have been upset, but I would have said to myself, you know what, Rutgers is a good team, a good offense. It's no disgrace losing to them. But when you're up 34-10 and you're counting that 8-4 season, and I don't know what it is about mentally, 8-4 versus 7-5, you and me were just crushed. I'm not going to lie. I was crushed, much like Randy Edsel was. He could barely talk. I don't even know what to say. I was so upset after that game. I didn't want to blog. I didn't want to go in the air. I didn't want to do anything. I felt so bad for CJ, so bad for the seniors. And it was just the height of futility as that game came out to the end. And, of course, the Ravens matched it on Sunday. That's another story for another day. But what was your take on this?
I had counted 8-4. Everybody I was with had counted 8-4. Looked like we were on a roll. You're up 25 points at home. And then there was a moment in the game when Kenneth Goins comes in to block a punt, misses and hits the kicker and gets a roughing penalty. And Rutgers scored. And we looked at each other across the stadium and said, uh-oh.
Yeah, it was just a sense, it was a sense that something was amiss. They got the ball that I think on a 3rd and 10, they threw a 40-yard pass, and then Will Likely intercepted, and it was called back for offside. Or
intercepted on the goal line, a great catch, probably the catch of the game.
Right. It took a miracle for them to get a touchdown, which they did. So they come back out after the half. They return a kick 75 yards or so, get another touchdown, 35-24. You knew we were dead. Right there. You knew it was trouble, and we couldn't move the ball. Then Brad Craddock missed his first field goal of the year.
It took a bit to get to that. It was like the next to last.
Listen, there was a series. There was a series of 30 plays that had to happen for the Terps to lose, and they all happened.
Yep. So Craddock kicks it long enough, it goes wide left, and you figure it's over. And with a couple minutes to go, Rutgers run out the clock, and a miracle happens. They fumble. Maryland gets the ball in the Rutgers 45, and even then, I wasn't figuring we'd win. I figured something would go wrong because it's Maryland.
It was just a heart-wrenching game, and It's over. It's, now we're taping on Monday because we're going to head out to the Maryland UVA game. But, and of course, basketball, what a rise they're on. Ranked now number 21 in the Associated Press, number 22 in the coaches poll. Mark Turgeon is 7-0, and he's doesn't have all his guns either, which even makes it a better situation. But we'll get to basketball in the next segment, so let's stay with football for a while. Just everything went wrong. And it's funny. I'm watching the Ravens game on Sunday, and I see receivers wide open. And then when I went back for some idiotic reason and rewatched some of the game on Saturday, you noticed that Rutgers was only sending 2 or 3 guys out. They were in max protection, and yet these guys kept getting open. It didn't make sense.
Nova threw the ball and hit guys in the hands. He made pro-level passes. He threw the ball to guys who were double covered and hit his receiver in the hands. And we couldn't get to him, didn't get to him, and couldn't chase down their 2-man routes, and we still got beat. You said it was a game of adjustments. I guess Ralph adjusted well after being down 25, and we just didn't come up with the magic to stop them. At the end, had we played the very last seconds a little differently, we probably could have taken the game to overtime.
Yeah, listen, I read some quotes in the New Jersey papers, and even Ralph said that they got beat so bad in the first half, he threw caution to the wind. He just said, we're either going to lose by 100 or maybe we can come back and make it competitive, which they did. But here's the bottom line. The first half, that offense for the Terps was as well-balanced, as well-run. Loxley had dialed up as good an offense as C.J. Brown is capable of playing. 5 touchdowns in one half. Do you know how hard that is to do?
I watched 2 teams do that.
Well, no, they didn't get 5 touchdowns in a half. 5 touchdowns in one half. And then one thing that happens in a game like that, when an offense scores like that in the first half, invariably in the second half, they do nothing.
Right.
All right. And they did virtually nothing in the second half.
I'm not sure this is on the offense or the defense. We didn't have that many sustained drives. The offense moved the ball a little bit. The ease that Rutgers scored was astonishing. They were getting chunks of 20 and 30 yards at a play. And I've watched a lot of games there. You said that's one of the lesser performances you've seen in the second half, and it brings back a lot of bad memories of other games that didn't go our way. But the most important thing that you've said to me over the past couple of days of counseling me through this tough time
and myself
is that December 20, whatever it is, 27th, 30th, we're going to forget that game ever happened because we're going to be in a bowl game, hopefully someplace nice. And if we win that game, we'll be 8-5 and all will be forgiven.
Yeah, I mean, it'll be a game you won't forget, and it's probably a good learning lesson for the non-seniors on the team that, it's funny, and Wayne, you can verify this. When Maryland went up 35-10, and it looked like they might win 80-10, I texted you a message, 2-word message. What was that message?
The message was no mercy.
That's exactly right. And I don't think mercy got involved in it, but when you have a team down, like Maryland had them down, you've got to finish the job. You've got to stomp on them and take the will out and finish the job. They were unable to do it.
Any touchdown through that whole period probably would have put the kibosh on that.
Without question. But in the long run,
so
it was devastating. But when all is said and done, now that it's a couple days past, what are we hearing? We're hearing maybe the Tax Slayer Bowl against Auburn.
That used to be the Gator Bowl.
Right. Maybe the Music City Bowl, a bowl that Maryland has wanted to go to recently.
I'd love to go to that.
Against Georgia. I'm not sure how the bowl situation has been affected. We'll find out Sunday morning, at 12:45 when the announcement's made. But at the end of the day, the loss, it wasn't the loss that like hurt the team. Excuse me.
But it really does take the momentum out a bit, and the momentum is the fans, the whole thing that surrounds the football team. Had we managed to win that game, would have propelled Randy Edsall. We were going to build a statue made out of soup cans, I believe, or something like that.
Whatever. It might have been Coach of the Year.
Coach of the Year. It would have been a whole different vibe. And over a couple plays there, you start to wonder, how did we get here and how good was that season? Which brings us back to what we talked about when the season began. You could win 7 or 8 games, and you say, well, I'm not sure we really beat anybody. Beat a lot of name brands, but I'm still – the signature win for me was Penn State. I don't care how you cut it, but I know there's a lot of people
to
out
me,
there.
Michigan on the road was just as big as Penn State. I think – listen, you can only beat who you play. Now, it was pretty obvious – that against Wisconsin, that was the only team we played that we were just outmanned. All right. And Wisconsin, just too big. We're not used to that kind of Big Ten play yet. It'll be interesting to see what happens at College Park next year when Wisconsin does come in next year.
Yep.
Ohio State got thrashed pretty badly, but the offense still moved the ball. There was still someone in the game. Michigan State, 16-7, 3 minutes ago.
That was a great improvement.
Right, 3 minutes to go in the third quarter. And Rutgers, what can we say?
So,
it happened.
To me, we are going to move on, but it's not, to me, it's not just about winning the football games. It's not just about how many wins. We wanted a better program. We wanted facilities improvements. We wanted people to get behind the team.
Everything's happening.
It's all happening. So overall, still gets a pretty good score.
Yeah, I'm not going to sit here. I cried on Saturday, and Wayne almost jumped off the balcony. But I was really upset. There's no doubt about it. And my upsetness left me when I watched the Ravens do the same thing. And these are all guys making $500,000 a year. All right. And their secondary, I think, as bad as Maryland's secondary was, I think the Ravens were worse, equally on Sunday, to watch what went down for a professional team to get shredded like a guy who could never shred Maryland, Mr. Phil Rivers.
Philip Rivers is a darn good pro quarterback.
Was he 0-4 against Maryland?
0-4.
0-4 against Maryland, but he wasn't 0-4 against the Ravens. And that game probably could cost the Ravens their season.
Yep.
Because
7-5 for the Ravens, not so hot. 7-5 for Maryland, we're still throwing a party.
Right. Well, the party was tampered
A little bit, but
it rained. It rained on the party. And what was bad about it was you would go 5-1 on the road and 2-4 at home. It's so backwards that it doesn't even make sense.
That's what Mason brought up, is you got to win some of these home games. There's a lot of guys on that team that had pretty good years. I mean, Craddock, one of the best kickers in America, and I think Will Likely is probably the best football player on that team. Both of them are coming back. CJ, after 6 years, is moving on, and he's actually really deep into the record books at Maryland for I think he's 6th all time for passing yards. Been involved in a heck of a lot of touchdowns. The Deion Long moving on. I mean, guys that you know across the defensive line.
CJ was really on. He was really on. I mean, Andre Monroe. I think Cole Farron's got a great shot to play on Sundays.
L.A. Gorey.
Right, L.A. Gorey. I mean, I tell you what, I am worried about the defense a little bit. It was bad enough on Saturday, but they're losing everybody almost.
Yep, and a lot of the guys who are backups played because of injury. So it's going to be, I think there's going to be 8 or 9 new starters next year on defense. It's going to be a different look. But that's next year. We got one more game to play, and it looks like it's going to be against a top-tier opponent. If it's Georgia or Auburn, it's going to be a big game. And I remember going to the Peach Bowl when it was still just called the Peach Bowl a few years ago, and Maryland played Tennessee, who was highly ranked, and Maryland managed to really hand it to them that night. So just because it's Georgia or Auburn doesn't mean we're going to lose. We've been in this situation before and pulled out a win. Yeah,
you also get a situation where Auburn is just kicking itself because they have to play, down on that kind of a bowl. And Maryland is saying, holy cow, we're playing Auburn.
Right.
All right. And you just don't know what's going to happen. And we also don't know. Look, let's not forget one thing about this game last Saturday. And you can dismiss it. Every team has injuries. I know all that stuff. but you took our playmaker was not there, Stephon Diggs. And as sure as I'm sitting in this chair right now, if Stephon Diggs is on that field, the Terps win the game. Because there was enough, one play here, one play there, the end around to Deion Long would have been a first down with Stephon.
I mean, that Stephon's signature play is a jet sweep.
Yeah.
And I was surprised they ran it with Deion. I haven't seen that before. Maybe that's why they picked that time to do it. When they've run it before, it's been Jaquil Vay, who's been pretty good. He's not Stephon Diggs, but he's been pretty good as that slot receiver for Maryland.
Look, if I'm going to second guess, and we're entitled to, you wonder two plays to get 1 or 2 yards. Your best runner on the team is C.J. Brown. All right, a read option with C.J., then maybe a sneak with C.J.
I just sneak it twice. Take it yourself. Get the fullback behind you and push you forward.
Right.
Owens and Chersky.
But they ran out of the shotgun, which surprised me a little
Twice.
bit. It did surprise me.
Well,
It's easy to second guess plays when they don't
the
work.
other second guess from trying to put together a cogent post game after that, which was tough to do, is balls of the 35. It's about a 53-yard field goal again. And part of me says, hey, you got to give Craddock a shot. So you could have gone with the quarterback sneak a couple times. You could have run Craddock back out there. I like the attitude that we don't deserve to win the game if we can't get a yard, but there is a reason you have an All-American kicker.
We don't listen. There's no answers. It's so easy to second guess when something doesn't work.
Well, that's what sports talk radio is about.
Right. Here's the thing. All right, they lost the game. It was a brutal, brutal loss. That's all I've got to say. I had nothing to say afterwards. And I know you tried to do a post-game show, and it just did not come across. You were so upset.
As flat as you could get. It was like old soda.
476 yards of offense, their third highest total of the year. CJ, his 9th career 100-yard rushing game. Deion Long, 7 catches for 65 yards. Amba Etta,
He caught the ball. Can you believe it?
Amba Etta, 71-yard touchdown pass that was sweet as could be. That first half, I tell you what, Wayne, we should have left.
Yeah.
That would have been the thing to do. We should have left and gone out to dinner,
Yeah.
saying we'll beat the crowd, we'll celebrate the season.
Yeah. So what'd you think of those Brandon Ross sort of reverse pivot runs? They run the whole student body left, and in the middle of the play, reverse pivots and leaks out the right side. You have 2 huge gainers. Where's that been all year?
I don't know, but look, Brandon, he made the plays, he got the touchdowns. Everything went right in the first half, and everything that could go wrong went wrong in the second half. So be it. We'll move on. We got a game in 3 or 4 weeks. Can't wait till Sunday. And, of course, now basketball starts in earnest. And what can we say? But let's head out to our first break. This is Bruce Posner along with Wayne Viener sitting in with me tonight here on Coons 4 Terp Talk. And we'll be back in a few minutes here on CBS Sports Radio, 1300.
Welcome back to Coons 4 Terp Talk. 410-481-1300 now. Once again, here's Bruce Posner.
All right, back here on segment 2 of Coons 4 Terp Talk. And on the phone with me right now to discuss this, what was a disaster of a weekend, is my good buddy, Dennis Kalatzis. But Dennis, everyone's waiting to hear, did Coons Ford get to its goal of 150 cars this weekend?
167 vehicles delivered, Bruce.
Unbelievable. Unbelievable.
Literally, we played good defense, threw it deep. Our customers caught the ball. Unlike the Ravens, we won.
So you had a secondary, unlike our 2 local teams, correct?
We had a secondary special teams. We gave a top-notch service on all levels. No less down here.
167 cars. That is absolutely. Some dealerships don't sell that many in a year. Am I right or wrong?
You're right about that. We're very, very fortunate, Bruce.
Yeah, that's almost incredible. But I saw it on Friday when I left work and I went by. It had to be 35 or 40 customers there. So hats off to you. It doesn't surprise me. And who knows what Coons Ford spent on advertising? It had to be probably $100,000. Who knows? But
it was great. We have a great team at every level that makes it look good.
all right, listen, we know the disasters that happened. 2 secondaries that just were non-existent. Certainly Maryland's loss was harder to accept because they were up 35-10. But let's be real, they're still going to a bowl. But the Ravens might have just cost themselves the season with that loss to a team they're in competition with. for one of the wild card spots.
Yeah, that was a monumental loss. We're definitely positioned to improve their standings with Pittsburgh losing, with Cleveland losing, and had we been able to hand San Diego a loss as well, it would have definitely improved their chances. And right now, they have zero room for error. They basically have to win out, but I just don't see them winning out. They have some tough road games, beginning with Miami. They still have to go down and play the Houston Texans. It's going to be a difficult, tall task for those guys.
Tannehill's been spraying the ball over everywhere, and we'll see what happens. All right, let me ask you a question about some of these Maryland guys, because I'm curious, and I know Wayne's sitting here with me. He's curious too, and you're an expert on the draft. So let's throw out some names to you and tell me pro possibilities. We'll open this one up with Andre Monroe, the defensive tackle. Does he have a chance to catch on?
Oh, I think he's got a chance. You know, a guy like maybe Bill Belichick will take a look at him. He likes Maryland type players, and he certainly has a shot. I think so.
All right, Cole Ferrand, who had a phenomenal season, must have averaged 15, 16 tackles a game, caused untold amount of fumbles. Does he have a chance to make it in the next level?
I think so. He may be a good middle round draft pick. A lot of Cole from the lieutenant on the combine, or the NFL combine, see how he fares out with that. If it's a good showing, he could be a mid to late round draft pick for draft day.
All right, I'm going to ask you one, and don't laugh at me. Is there any shot that we could see C.J. Brown as a safety maybe, or somewhere out there? His football acumen is excellent. No, he's not going to be a quarterback. You know it, and I know it. But sometimes you look at some of the safeties in the game, and they are guys who really understand the game.
C.J. Brown, if he really wants to continue playing football, he should probably look at the Canadian Football League at the quarterback position.
Yeah, I think he could be a natural up there, Wayne.
Yeah.
When we first met Deion Long, I thought this guy was a surefire NFL receiver. Have you seen anything that would say he's going to be a draftable product?
Oh, absolutely. I think Deion Long does make the NFL. He's definitely a draftable product for sure. No question about it.
And the big question is, if Stephon decides to come out, where is Stephon? Is he a second, a third, a fourth round pick? But I do believe he'll make a team whenever he gets picked.
He'll be a late second round draft pick, Bruce. I look for him to go late in the second round. Not many great receivers coming out in this year's draft. There's still at a premium with a passing game. Receivers and cornerbacks are going to get a big time premium, and he is one of the better ones for sure. Well,
I know one thing: the Ravens, they've got to go. If they get 7 picks, they got to take 5 corners. And forget the best athlete stuff. The best athlete stuff is going out the window. They got to get corners, because that's the worst secondary, Dennis, I've ever seen. And when you cut 2 guys and put 2 guys in from the scrap heap, what happens on Sunday happens, right or wrong.
Yeah, and everybody's surprised. Our cornerbacks, they don't have the speed or the hips to turn and run with the receivers, particularly in tight coverage. They need cushion to react. I know people were screaming, why are we giving them so much cushion? Dean Pease was setting blitzes, even the cornerbacks to island, because that was pretty much the only way we could stop them. Whether our cornerbacks are trying to cover the wide receivers for 3 seconds or 5 seconds or 7 seconds, Rivers was going to find an open man if he didn't get knocked down. So a lot of people want to blame Dean Pease for blitzing, but they're the same ones complaining about not blitzing enough in other games.
What is Dean Pease going to do Sunday? I mean, Tannehill will take them apart. I mean, he's got to try something, Dennis.
Who helps Dean Pease is Gary Kubiak in that offense, who's done it on the ball even more effectively, keep the Miami offense on the bench, get ahead and stay ahead. I think we all knew yesterday that the only way to beat the Chargers was to get ahead and stay ahead, because once we were behind, we're not going to catch them up. We're not going to catch up to them. There are not many teams in this league that we can afford to fall behind to, and we're going to catch up to.
All right, what does Coons Ford do for an encore after you sell 167 cars in 3 days?
Well, that was a long time ago, Bruce. We're going to try to do even more so this month. December, it's a great time to buy vehicles. You know that. Some tax savings for the businesses out there as well. Year-end sales from manufacturers. Everybody's stretching for market share. Everybody wants to move up. Nobody wants to finish in second place. But again, another great time to come in and trade up. We have a lot of F-150s right now on the ground. 2014 models. 2015 models are just starting to hit the ground. That's going to be a home run vehicle. If you haven't seen it, that's another vehicle you got to stop by Bruce Tick for test drive.
I always do. And you know what's funny? They made that commercial with people test driving the Mustang. That could have been me, all right? Because they had the exact same reaction that I did when I drove that car. They were absolutely taken away. That car is absolutely incredible. And I hear you're selling the heck out of them, which doesn't surprise me at all.
Well, when the F-150 comes out in 2015, you and I will take a test drive, and I'm going to videotape you test drive that because they had one of our salespeople ordered a Mustang, and he went up and did a run and drive up in Aberdeen with the UF-150, and he came back and ordered himself an F-150. So if the F-150 was more impressive than a Mustang, this is something you and I really have to see.
Well, I have to see that to believe that, but I do believe it. Dennis, thanks a lot for coming on today. And again, check Dennis out on the SundaySportsVoice.com and on the Sunday Sports Voice. Dennis, thanks a lot, and we'll talk to you soon.
Thanks so much. Go Ravens, go Terps.
All right. All right, let's get down to some – we've been talking some tough news. Let's get down to some good news, and that is what is going on with Maryland basketball, number 21 in the nation right now. Listen, the sky's the limit if they could pull the upset tonight against UVA. And UVA, I know you got a report prepared on them. Justin Anderson, the guy Maryland let get away, and the guy, was it Roby or Toby?
Toby,
the big guy.
Brogdon and London Parentes at guard, and then Anthony Gills, a forward who won a most valuable player in that tournament they were in over the weekend.
But they haven't beaten any Iowa State yet.
Oh, no. The biggest win might have been against GW. Now, of course, everybody who's a Terp fan knows this game. They moved it to a very convenient time, 9:15 p.m.
Why so early? Why did they start it at like 11?
I know you like staying up till 2:30 and writing. They could have started the game at midnight for you. You would have made that.
9:15, and they're wondering why there's still a few tickets left.
Well, last I looked, about 565 tickets on StubHub, but I don't think Maryland's sold out all the tickets yet. So if anybody still wants to make a run out there, you got time.
It'll sell out, though. I'll tell you that right now. Unless there's inclement weather, the game will sell out at the end because now that Maryland's 21, and what's UVA, 9?
8, 9.
And this is our only ACC game of the year.
Yeah.
Unless we go the next level and make it, which would be fantastic. But
are you happy with the playing Virginia as opposed to anybody else in the ACC Big Ten Challenge?
I could care less who they played, all right? I mean, one day, 10 years from now when Coach K's gone, it'd be fun to play Duke again.
Right. And that's number 7, Virginia, by the way.
Number 7.
Number 7. No, they beat JMU, Norfolk, South Carolina State. Maryland has had schedules early in the season like that. I'm happy that Maryland played a tougher schedule because I think it's going to be in a better frame of mind for this game. And you brought that up year after year, that if you keep playing South Carolina State,
patsies,
it just doesn't do much for your team.
And I think that affected them. I think the start of the game against Arizona State, it was a real slow start for the Terps because they just had not been playing anybody. And now you're playing a competitive team, and I think it hurt them a little bit at the beginning. But listen, let's be real. Melo Trimble, Dion Wiley, and Jared Nickens, this is a class that could go down in history for Maryland if things work out in the right way.
Yeah. These
3 guys are better than almost any players we've had in the past 4 years.
Oh, absolutely.
Right? I mean, you look at Seth Allen and you compare him to Melo Trimble, and there is no comparison.
No, Melo's a better ball handler, a better shooter at this point, maybe a little quicker, better defender.
Better clutch. Okay.
I think he understands the concept of the offense a little more than Seth did. But Nickens, I thought you were going to go back and say this is the best group of 3 or 4 guys that walked in right off the street and played since you had extra hip Dwayne Simpkins. So you're going to go back 20 years on me.
Well,
because these guys, I think Nickens is the sky's the limit for Nickens. And then Wiley showed some handle the other night against VMI that I hadn't seen before. He just looked like a stand-up shooter. Now he's getting the ball, attacking the basket, and then Checo in the middle had a good 5 minutes. If you can get him to have a good 15 minutes, you could beat anybody.
Checo, you have to remember, still learning the language, okay? He's still, raw, and yet, I got to tell you the truth. You weren't there for the first couple exhibition games, but you were calling me every 10 minutes. And I said to you, I got to tell you, Wayne, I'm a little worried about Checo. I said, I don't see anything. Well, every game since, he has gotten better. And last night, he played that game in a stronger power position than Alex Len ever played at Maryland.
He's a little more aggressive.
Yeah,
and just see it.
He's put the ball back. He's jamming. He's got some movement to the rim, and he's playing tough. tougher and tougher every game, as is Jake Layman.
Yeah, and Dodd's not bad, but back to Chaco. How about that? He's got a little fadeaway going, and people are buying that move. If you're worried about him shooting the ball over you, he's got the moves to turn and attack the basket in one motion. He's not playing. He doesn't just look like a center anymore. He now looks like a European-type center that has all the moves. They just need it for a couple more solid minutes a game, and he becomes a dominating player.
Look, we're going to have a tough time tonight against UVA. There's no question about it. This is number 17 in the country. Fortunately, we have them at home, but we're going to have a tough time when we head out to Oklahoma State. Winthrop's going to be a tough game. NC Central's going to be a tough game.
And then you hurry up and it's Michigan State.
And then the real schedule starts.
So about Virginia, I mean, they don't score a lot, but they defend the heck out of the ball. So this is going to be a good chance to see if Melo is going to really play point guard. And with Dez out, the way Maryland rotates, you end up with Varun playing at point, which is a bit of a –
it can't happen against Virginia.
Doesn't work so well. So maybe we'll see Rashard Pack, who was fantastic the first 5 games. The shot came back last night, so we're going to have to rely on him to probably be our X factor to get through a tough UVA team.
When a shooter misses from the outside and you're a smart player, what do? You go inside. And that's what he did last night. He scored most of his points inside, 22 I think he had. And they were layups, second chance shots. He played great along with Nickens. And the guards keep coming at you. I'll take my chances with this group of kids any day of the week. Let's head out to break number 2. When we get back, we'll talk some more hoops. This is Bruce Posner along with Wayne Viener. And yes, we are live. Well, we're taped on TV. If you want to go to terptalk.com, as we both wave right now, and there's Tish from
our Buckeye.
Our Buckeye gloating and gloating as she has a right to. But I tell you the truth, now that Ohio State and we're in the Big Ten, I want to see him go all the way. I want to see him make the top 4 because in the long run, who's that going to help?
Just going to help us.
It's going to help us in the long run. We got a shot to play him next year. You never know what can happen. All right, this is Bruce Posner. You're listening to CBS Sports Radio 1300. We'll be back in a few minutes.
This is Coons Ford Terp Talk. Call 410-481-1300 now. Once again, here's Bruce Posner.
All right, back here for our third and final segment of Coons Ford Terp Talk. Again, we're taping this on Monday night. But not much happened on Tuesday, although I shouldn't say that because I really am not positive.
Right, but speaking of things not really happen, the one thing that stuck with me, I hope we get to, is you put together a lacrosse schedule that looks absolutely fantastic.
Yeah, I mean, the thought that it would not be a challenging schedule, you open up at Navy, then go to Yale, come home to Drexel and Princeton. Yeah. So out of the first 4 games, 2 tough ones are on the road, and you come home to play Princeton, which is always brutal. Then you shoot to Villanova and come home to play Carolina, and I predicted that would happen.
You said that.
Because Bresci, the coach of Carolina, does not want to give up Baltimore. He does not. He does too much recruiting out of Baltimore, did not want to give it up. Then they go to the big house, Michigan. No, they actually play Michigan here and Penn State. Coached by Tambroni, a phenomenal coach, great team. And then midweek, naturally, they play Loyola, which to me is one of the big games of the year.
That is that and Hopkins marquee game. Of course, you got to throw in Carolina. So, I'll let you go through them. I have a question about why Carolina, not anybody else.
Because Carolina Bresci probably said to the athletic director, I can't give up playing Maryland.
Well, you talked to the head coach. Is it Starza at Virginia?
Right.
And I believe you asked him point blank, I think I was there, are you going to play Maryland anymore? And he really didn't directly answer the question.
Which means the answer was no. Okay? And Coach K is already putting the edict down that Duke's not going to play Maryland in anything, which is a detriment to Duke's lacrosse program because Danowski is, everybody loves Dano. He's a great guy and a phenomenal coach. Why did I play Maryland? I mean, it's just stupid. But they'll get over that. You know what? Who cares? And, of course, Johns Hopkins on April 26th. And the odd thing about that is there a good possibility that the following week they will play Maryland again at Maryland.
All right, the Big Ten tournaments at College Park.
Right, so they played Johns Hopkins plays Maryland on April 26th, and then the following Friday to Sunday.
Play them again.
Right.
So one of the things I was sort of forgot I was trying to get to is you had to go out and find all this stuff. Which
Yes.
you did a heck of a lot of research, put the schedule together. I guess Maryland hasn't officially released their schedule yet.
Well, some of these dates are up in the air with the Big Ten, and no, they have not released their schedule yet. It's coming any day, Patrick Fisher told me, and we'll see what happens. And of course, we have to mention the women. The women lost. Who do they lose to?
The
The
women's
other?
basketball team lost to Washington State.
Washington State.
Wazoo.
Yeah, I mean, it's not
And that was at down at Atlanta.
San Juan.
Oh, San Juan.
The San Juan tournament. Brianna Jones had 23 points. Maryland lost 70-64.
They sent back some great pictures, though. Anybody who follows Maryland women's basketball on Twitter or Facebook, it looked like they had a good time.
Well, I hope they had a good time, but maybe they had too good of a time.
That's where I was going.
Listen, Wednesday night, I think at the same time the men are playing, the women are playing Notre Dame, which is going to be Notre Dame's number 2, I think.
We keep running into Notre Dame at inopportune times.
Well, you know what? Let's keep running into them. In fact, I've heard rumors Maryland Notre Dame in the Pinstripe Bowl.
That's what I was just going to go to. That would be
Saturday at 4:30.
Saturday the 27th?
27th, yeah, something
Yeah,
like that.
at Yankee Stadium. Notre Dame's already booked for that one at 7-5. So it's 7-5 Terps. We owe them one. They came into FedEx Field, which is a Notre Dame home game, and
I'll
really put it to
I'll
us.
take my chances against Notre Dame right now. I would take my chances.
Right.
All right, let's get back to hoops. Again, we have this Virginia game, and it looks like Smotrich is out. He has tweaked his ankle again.
I didn't know that.
Yes, he tweaked his ankle again. He is out. And, of course, Dez is out. And who does that make our starting lineup? It seems to me like you might see Deion Wiley start with Mello, with Sikowski and Lehman and John Graham.
Well, they've been starting Dodd. So
Then start Dodd instead of I'm not sure why, except for the fact Sikowski's about a 15-minute guy at most.
right, and that's the great 15 minutes is the game changer.
Yeah,
I'm interested. Again, it's really that defense that Virginia brings, not the big offensive power against Maryland's ability to get into their set, rotate that ball around, and get to the basket.
Yeah, Sikowski played 24 minutes against Monmouth, and that game got a little hairy. That game.
Both of them, VMI and Monmouth, both took Maryland getting used to not playing without Dez. What I've heard from the Mello quotes or the team quotes is that Dez, it's more the energy and the go-gettedness that he brings to the court that was missed as much as anything else. It's the senior leadership part, and with him, it's evident that there's senior leadership there.
Well, you got to remember one thing about Dez, all right? Dez never has a game where he doesn't have some kind of offensive spurt, whether it's scoring or passing or doing anything. He always finds part of the game where he has that spurt, and he's kind of like taking on a leadership role this year, which doesn't surprise anybody. And now that he's out, my guess is they say a month, and I just got a feel, and he'll be back for that Oklahoma State game.
Oklahoma State's 21st, Michigan State the 30th, and then the first Big Ten home game ever, Minnesota comes in on January 3rd.
That's a Saturday?
Saturday afternoon. I think it's a 12.
Right. That'll be a lot of fun.
Oh, that's going to be great.
Let me tell you one thing, though, about Dez, about the schedule, about everything else. Some of these times they're playing the games defies logic. It really does. To play a Sunday night game at 6 o'clock on a day that the Ravens are home and the Redskins were on TV.
Redskins trying to trade RG3. I mean, that dominates the Washington market.
Yeah, RG3, his days are numbered with the Redskins. But
Right. I wanted to ask Dennis what kind of draft pick he really thinks the Redskins are going to get for him. But I know it's a Baltimore show.
yeah, that's another story for another day. But listen, at some of these times, they got an 11 o'clock game coming up.
Against South Carolina upstate.
I mean, already this is a tough game to draw for, and 11 o'clock in the morning. I don't understand it.
Well,
And, you know, they play Michigan State Tuesday at 5 p.m.
on the 30th, as though that was a holiday.
It's not a holiday. It's a work day.
And because of the short week, that's actually really important work day.
Yeah, I mean, Tuesday at 5 o'clock, when the next day is New Year's Eve. So everybody's going to be at work. You're not taking off 2
Right.
days before New Year's.
No.
So, I mean, it defies logic some of these times that they're playing. 9:15 against Virginia. And, of course, the Big Ten is big for the noon games, and Maryland's got a ton of them. But so be it. We'll take them as they come. And certainly you see Mark Turgeon in much better spirits. He loves this team. And it's just a shame they don't have Dez. Now they don't have Smotrich. And I know there's a lot of criticism of Smotrich, but let me tell you, he's very serviceable. He gets rebounds.
He rebounds. For a guy who can't move, that guy gets a lot of rebounds.
You're going to have a lot of play from Dodd, Sikorsky, and Jonathan Graham. A lot of heat will be put on Jonathan in this spell, but he'll give you his effort. That's for certain.
You hope it makes the team better. You're playing all your freshmen. They look as good as they were advertised, and so many times over the past 3 or 4 years that wasn't the case. What do you think is going to happen tonight? In about 2 hours and 15 minutes, they're going to tip it off at Xfinity Center.
I'm going to shock you. I think Maryland's going to win the game. I'm not sure why, with being depleted like they are, and playing a team that's number 7 in the country, but College Park's a tough place to play, and Virginia came in last year. What were they, 5 or 6?
Yeah.
And last year, there is no way in the world you compare last year's team to this year's team. There's just no way. This team is so much better. It's a joke. It's a little early. I like to get them later, but I just have a feeling the place is going to be rocking, and they're going to learn about Melo Trimble. Let's hope he has a big game. But the thing I love is between Melo and Deion Wiley and Gerard Nickens, and Richard Pack, all of them cannot have a bad game. All right?
No.
And all of them can really play. And if Melo has his typical game, there's a very good chance for a Maryland upset tonight. But either way, they'll either be 7-1 or 7 or 8-0, and either way, it'll be a great start for the Terps. Let's just hope they don't get a 22-point lead and lose, 25-point lead. I don't think I could take
If
it.
Maryland gets up by 25,
They're going to win.
I'm
Yeah.
leaving. That'll be it.
That's the move to do. And with that, we're going to check out Wayne. Thanks for driving over tonight. Tish, as always, thank you. Good luck Monday night on Ohio State for them to get into the Final Four. But I'm not sure it's going to happen. This is Bruce Posner signing off. We will see you on Saturday on the Sports Maven.
All right there, Google and Internet land. Thanks for watching. We'll catch you next week, right, Bruce?
Next Wednesday.
Go Terps.